Hi and welcome to Sacred Spaces. My name's Michaela Drieberg and today we're in Dandenong and we'll be looking at the Government Services Offices, which is one of the first buildings that has been built as a part of the Revitalising Central Dandenong program. We also have with us today Robin Deutschmann, who's a Senior Associate at HASSELL and was the project lead as part of this new building. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Michaela. Well,
so can you tell us a little bit about this building and just some of the history that was involved with its design?
Certainly. Well, we started on the project in early 2009 with Grocon, who are our developer and client, and the builder. And really it's the first kind of major office building as part of the Revitalising precinct. So the brief that we had from Vic Urban, who are now called Places Victoria, who are the development agency, was really to set a standard for development in central Dandenong. And as it's a government services office building, the idea is really to really express the building as much to the outside community, as much as creating some great spaces inside.
And it really signifies that part of old and new Dandenong, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, it's really reinforcing the master plan that has been put in place by Places Victoria to really revitalise the heart of central Dandenong, but still keep its history, keep its cultural richness, and really just add to the precinct rather than just a kind of wholesale kind of something that doesn't relate to it.
And that's very much within the building as well, isn't it? Can we have a look at it?
Absolutely. Let's go and take a look.
Well, Robin, we're in one of the client waiting areas now, and it certainly has a different feel from your traditional waiting area that you're used to. It's so light and warm and just really comfortable and welcoming.
Yeah, absolutely, Michaela. What we really wanted to do was just open up the building to the views from the outside.
Yep.
And really just create sort of these, really magnificent double height spaces, introduce a lot of greenery, and really sort of a sense of softness and a sense of warm, sort of human, just gentle touches.
Less sterile.
So, much less sterile and, just much more personal and really making people feel very comfortable and at home when they come into the spaces.
Yeah.
So the idea of timber and even the custom designed furniture that we've talked about here, and really just the sense of light and the quality of and the generosity of space was really just about making people feel respected and at home and just really making them feel at ease when they come into the building.
I'm really impressed with the greenery. Is it real?
It is. We work very closely with our landscape architects who work with us very collaboratively in-house, and all the greenery is real. It just grows naturally in the space because the space is so wonderfully daily. So it's all real, it's all authentic, there's no fake plants.
It's just really unexpected, and it really draws in that whole light and different environments from what you're used to with the building.
Well, it's just adding that soft, gentle touch, and it's also something as a feature that's very visible from the outside as well. So at night, all the greenery is illuminated, so it just makes a difference to softening the urban realm around the building as well. So it's not just about the internal spaces, it's about making the spaces very clear and legible from the outside as well, so that there's a strong indoor-outdoor sense. It's almost like these spaces are almost like public plaza spaces that just happen to come inside the building.
Now you mentioned another public plaza space within the building, an atrium.
Yeah, we've got 3 atriums that connect the staff of the building vertically. So those, again, are very much about greenery and very much about that sort of warm, sort of soft touch, but for the staff of the building. So they're really about connecting people vertically and giving them opportunities for breakout spaces and lunch spaces. So let's go and check one out.
Okay, that'd be good, thanks.
Okay, great.
Well, Robin, we're sitting in one of the atriums that you referred to, and it's one of 3, is that correct?
Yeah, there's 3 atriums for the building. We've got 7 levels of office space, and the 3 atriums just connect the different departments vertically. So the idea is that instead of, as in a traditional high-rise, people would take the lift to get up to the next office floor, these atrium spaces just encourage staff to connect vertically over 2 or 3 levels. And there's also an opportunity for breakout areas for like lunch spaces and hub spaces for staff. So little gathering spaces and sort of spaces to get away from their desk and read a newspaper or have a cup of coffee and just really enjoy the views out in the great daylight.
Yeah, so it's multiple purpose really, isn't it? I mean, you touched on a number of different things there. I think it's quite unusual to have a staircase connecting a number of different floors within a building, and like you said, saves you from nicking outside, taking the elevator up, when you can just jump up the staircase behind us. Is it unusual, or are you seeing it more and more now?
It's definitely a trend in office buildings in the last 10 years, because traditionally, in the 1980s and the 1990s, office buildings were generally towers and sort of skinnier, taller buildings, and that really discouraged people from interacting and people from communicating with one another. So it really sort of sealed people on their floors, and they didn't really go up to the next floor easily to talk with a colleague or to interact with people. So generally the last 10 years there's been very much a trend to using these spaces and using staircases and these other devices to really encourage interaction and encourage collaboration between staff. And they work because people use them, and if there's much more amenity there, people are much more encouraged to take the stairs instead of the lifts. And it just bleeds into a whole lot of other parts of daily office and daily work life.
Yeah.
So.
And this breakout area that you referred to as well, it just reinforces what you've just said. It brings people together. There's lots of different options in terms of you want to sit at a table and eat, or you just want to kick back in one of the chairs.
Well, it's an informal meeting space as well. So you can have a one-on-one meeting. You can have a little tea meeting. You can just sort of sit here and sort of work on a laptop and sort of just get away from the general sort of buzz of the workplace if you want to. It just provides a number of different options for people to use them.
Yeah, and plenty of light as well, so
Absolutely.
Huge windows.
It's really about getting daylight in. So there was a big story with the environmental strategy of the project about using these atriums to, first of all, get much more daylight soaking into the interior of the workplace. Also, we've got opening windows here that mechanically operate during summer months to
Now, I
open
did
at
ask
night.
one of the staff when we were walking in if it gets quite hot in here, because we're surrounded by so much light and windows. So, she reinforced that wasn't the case. But so the windows open.
The windows do open. The idea is during summer months, the windows will automatically open at night and cool air will come into the building. And that really sort of cools the thermal mass of the building, so all the concrete structure of the building gets cooled, and then that re-radiates the cool during the day. And it also really helps kind of issues like any smoke ventilation issues and things like that. It's got a number of different strategies, but people just love it when the windows open and you can just get fresh air into the building. That's another very unusual thing that office buildings didn't traditionally do.
And is it only a particular part of the window, or so it's not you can't just wind something and push it open if you feel like it?
No, it's all very much tuned into the building management system. So it's an automatic thing. It's not something that people can just open as they please. It's very much ingrained into the science and the infrastructure of the building. And the idea too is that a lot of the cantilevers of the building that we can see behind us here sort of open up and actually project out beyond the space to actually shade it as well. So even though there's a lot of great daylight coming in, it is actually shaded, and it is a comfortable environment during summer.
I love it how there's the open spaces for both clients and staff, and it's throughout the building.
Well, the whole idea of the building was to really create these great internal environments first, and then make sure that they're expressed both internally and externally, so not hiding them away deep within the building, but making sure that they're really visible from the outside. And because it's very much a community focused building as well, the idea that these spaces are actually things that people from the community can actually get a sense of the life of the building and a sense of the sense of community. So the idea that you've got great views from these spaces into the surrounding revitalisation of Dandenong, but also from the surrounding community you can actually see into these spaces. So it's very important that sense of transparency and that sense of interaction, because it's very much a public building.
It is, and you also mentioned a couple of other features about the building which I'd love to have a look at. So
Certainly.
Something about reclaimed timber, as well as a rooftop terrace. So do you mind showing me a little bit more about that?
Certainly, let's go and have a look now.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, we're here now on the rooftop terrace, or the loggia as I hear it's referred to as well. Is that the correct terminology?
Yeah. Loggia simply means outdoor rooms, so it's basically just a collection of outdoor rooms that staff can use for breakout, for meeting spaces, for sort of large gatherings, for kind of, the whole organisation can basically get up here.
That's a really appropriate term because it is like an outdoor room. There's lots of seating areas and it's a really, again, a really warm and welcoming environment, and the plants are still here as well, and the magnificent views again.
Well, yeah, it's all really about framing views to the outside as well. So, from the loggia you get some great views to the surrounding, the foothills of the Dandenong Ranges, to the surrounding urban precincts, and it's really just about creating these little kind of intimate spaces that really get a sense of being within a much bigger sort of overall terrace. It
must be a real treat to have this space as well as the amazing ones inside, but to be able to come outside and enjoy just the outside atmosphere and the weather as well.
Absolutely, and that's again getting away from this idea that it's a very hermetically sealed sort of office tower like the traditional sort of 80s, 90s buildings. Really creating these great opportunities, these great moments for people to come together and just for a whole range of different things to happen.
And this area connects directly with the conference centre next to us, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a conference centre here for use by all the government departments and all staff, and that's got a whole series of a range of meeting rooms and conference spaces for all staff to use.
Now, you were mentioning something else to me earlier about the treatment of the windows, and there was a bit of a story about that.
Absolutely. So the glazing for the building has a frit pattern on it, which is a technical term for a series of ceramic dots that are imprinted into the glass. And this is a device that we use to basically really diffuse the heat coming into the building, but allowing natural light to come into the building. So it's used in a lot of buildings, but on our building we decided to use it much more, a little bit kind of creatively, in that we worked with a graphic designer, Vero North, to actually create a pattern for it that references the multicultural nature of Dandenong. So the graphic designers come up with this pattern that really fuses a lot of different multicultural motifs into one pattern that's then replicated all over the glass, and that's over kind of most of the glass in the building. And it's just another layer that kind of really makes the building much more meaningful to Dandenong, as is the bushfire timber as well, which is another element. Another
element. So this is the timber here next to us, and it was saved, restored from the bushfires back in 2009.
Absolutely. So Grocon, who are our developer and our builder, and actually the Grollo family own the building as well. They were heavily involved in the cleanup activities for 2009 Black Saturday bushfires. So through their connections, they sourced all of this timber, which is reclaimed sustainably, and that was it was certified timber. So there's a whole process to make sure that it was actually done in the right way, but it was sourced from trees that had been destroyed in the bushfires. So it's a great story about sustainability, because it's actually about reuse of materials that have been kind of destroyed. So there's a great sustainability story in there, and there's also a great human story in that it's really referencing the building. A lot of the staff who work in the building were also involved in the aftermath of the bushfires. So it's a very personal story, and it's very relevant for the people who own the building as well as the people who kind of occupy the building. So it's a great story, and just a very rare privilege to actually use a material like that, which is very relevant to our time and to the building.
It is indeed, and this building it has it throughout it, doesn't it? Its intention is to service people, and it's certainly done so with so much respect, looking at the waiting rooms and just the client rooms that are throughout the building, but then also respecting the staff and their humanity as well, with just all the openness and the welcoming, and it's an amazing building.
Thank you, and it's very much about making it part of Dandenong as well. And with the government departments that occupy the building, there's a lot of community interaction that happens with that. So it's all about really making the building relevant for the community as well as for the people who work in the building.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today, Robin, to take us through the government services offices. It's been a really great experience.
You're most welcome, Michaela. I'm very glad to talk about it.
Great. My name's Michaela Dreberg. You've been watching Sacred Spaces, and we'll see you soon.